Hello and welcome to Valuechain News. I am Naomi Oleribe. First, the headlines. Make auto gas available before subsidy removal. Nigeria loses 4.82 million oil barrels to shut down in upstream operations. Federal government seeks 150 billion naira investment in ICT sector by 2025. Now the news in details. A good number of Nigerians have advised the federal government to make auto gas available before the removal of subsidy next year. This is according to a recent poll conducted by Valuechain. It may be recalled that the federal government in November 2021 announced that fuel subsidy would be removed by 2022. This, according to the government, is to strengthen the economy for development. The announcement was received with mixed reactions from Nigerians looking at the current economic hardship that prevails in the country. Many Nigerians are of the view that the government should provide alternative fuel, auto gas, before the subsidy removal. It can be recalled that last year, the federal government through the NNPC and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources promised to introduce alternative fuel, auto gas, that will sell cheaper than premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, a promise that is yet to be fulfilled. As Nigerians prepare to usher in 2022, the issue of subsidy removal has once again gained prominence amongst the populace. Valuechain conducted an opinion poll to gauge the expectations of Nigerians on the topic. A total of 1,920 respondents took part in the poll, and results shows that 82.6% voted for the provision of an alternative fuel before subsidy removal, while 17.4% said no. Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria and ExxonMobil are presently faced with huge remediation costs over their failure to properly decommission and cap oil and gas assets across the Niger Delta, especially the ones sold to Nigerians in recent divestiture programs, a situation that creates severe environmental risks and pollutions to host communities in the oil-rich Niger Delta. Reports gathered from stakeholders in the recent case of I2 Nembe's wellhead blowout brought to the fore the need to enforce relevant laws and to ensure that the multinationals that sold the asset to the Nigerian companies pay remediation charges. While I2 is presently engaged on a legal tussle with Shell, seeking the sum of over $2.5 billion compensation over the sale of oil mining license 29, reports gathered that the Nigerian oil and gas company is also considering a fresh legal action against the multinational over the Nembe spill and other wells not properly capped. On the other hand, Seplat Energy last month announced that together with its partner that it was in competitive discussions to acquire ExxonMobil's Nigerian shallow water business. With this, stakeholders have expressed concern about what will happen if the deal is sealed and some of ExxonMobil's assets that were not properly capped causes another environmental challenge. The present environmental challenge is what is likely going to be faced when Shell sells its entire SPDC oil blocks in the Niger Delta without properly capping the oil wells and providing for remediation, an oil and gas expert said. Nigeria's oil industry has continued to bleed owing to incessant shutdowns due to the aging upstream infrastructure, vandalism and community-related issues, with the country losing over 4.82 million barrels to the challenges, reports said. Although a marked reduction from the 6.3 million barrels lost in the preceding month, the country's production losses recorded in October came mainly from Focados, Boni, Odudu, Brass, Yoho, Ajagba, and Ajay in the Niger Delta. but a review showed that the situation will most likely continue unmitigated, at least in the short term, as Shell a few days ago announced a halt in crude shipments from the same focados, a situation that may negatively impact the country's revenue stream and worsen existing shortages in the international market. The previous month, with an estimated $70 per barrel, Nigeria lost roughly $441 million to similar shutdowns, with the asset mostly affected being Sea Eagle, Brass, Yoho, Escravos, Ajagba, and Otakibo. Although the group managing director of the NNPC, Malamele Kiyari, has assured that by the end of this year, Nigeria will be able to meet its allocation from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC), the country has been lagging behind. Nigeria's oil output fell to about 1.23 million barrels per day from about 1.25 million barrels the previous month, with Libya seeing its oil production rise to 1.24 million barrels per day for the month. An interdict against seismic scanning by oil giant Shell has been granted by the Grahamstown High Court in Makhanda. This puts the oil giant's 4 exploration activities along the White Coast on hold until a second part of an interdict is heard. This comes 3 weeks after Judge Avinchna dismissed a previous interdict application, saying that irreparable harm to marine species were not proved by the applicant, which included Greenpeace. In the latest finding, Judge Gerard Blom, who granted the application, did so in the interest of the Amadibia, Port St. John's and Caymont communities, a collection of small-scale fishing communities whose livelihood may be severely impacted by seismic scanning that affects the local marine life. Conversely, Shell's counsel Andrine Friedman claimed that the community's objections are speculative and that any potential cultural or spiritual harm was subjective. These sentiments were echoed by Energy and Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Matashe, who, along with the Eastern Cape Cabinet, supported Shell's plan. South Africa's economic development is oppressed in the name of environmental protection when we have an environmental framework that ensures that licensing is done with the utmost environmental care founded on Section 24 of our Constitution. We therefore appeal to all objectors to acknowledge this and allow South Africa to exploit its natural resources for the benefit of its citizens, Matashe said in a press conference earlier this month. China, which is under fire for approving new coal power stations as other countries try to curb greenhouse gases, has completed the first 1,000 megawatt unit of the Shangaimo plant, the biggest of its kind under construction in the country. Its operator, the Godian Power Corporation, a subsidiary of the central government-run China Energy Invested Corporation, said on Tuesday that the plant's technology was the world's most efficient with the lowest rates of coal and water consumption. Located in Ordos in the coal-rich northwestern region of Inner Mongolia, the plant will eventually have 4 generating units and is designed to deliver power to the eastern coastal Shandong province via a long-distance ultra-high voltage grid. China is responsible for more than half of global coal-fired power generation and is expected to see a 9% year-on-year increase in 2021, an International Energy Agency report published this month said. To unleash Nigeria's potential for industrialization and sustainable economic growth and to ensure competitiveness in global digital economy, the government has said that it will take measures to digitize the economy and make digitalization a key driver of national economic development strategies. The government will ensure that by 2025, critical digitization challenges are addressed so that the sector can achieve its job creation and economic productivity potential. To achieve these, the federal government in the National Development Plan (NDP) 2021 to 2025 Volume 1 has projected about 150 billion investments. The 150 billion naira investment, which according to the federal government is public investment, will be spread across priority projects in the sector as well as projects essentially to the operations of the relevant ministries. In addition, the government said the ICT sector is projected to facilitate the formation of up to $1 billion in private equity and private capital investments in digital infrastructure of approximately $40 billion. The document noted that despite recent improvements in Nigeria's ICT sector, several challenges including low funding and weak digital infrastructure, especially in non-commercial hubs, have limited the value creation potential of businesses. Before we end the news, here's a recap of our headlines. Make auto gas available before subsidy removal. Nigeria loses 4.82 million oil barrels to shutdowns in upstream operations. Federal government seeks 150 billion naira investments in ICT sector by 2025. And that's the news. My name is Naomi Oleribe. Merry Christmas.